Ladies and gentlemen, what you're about to hear isn't just breaking news. It's the sound of an NBA dynasty desperately fighting for survival. The Golden State Warriors, architects of basketball's most beautiful revolution, stand at the precipice of their most daring gamble yet. While the basketball world remains fixated on Klay Thompson's Dallas disappointment, a cautionary tale of paradise lost, Warriors management has quietly set their sights on Portland Trail Blazers' $100 million star Anthony Simons in what could become this summer's most consequential trade. This isn't merely a transaction. It's a declaration that Golden State refuses to fade into NBA irrelevance as their championship core disintegrates. Every empire faces its twilight, but some choose to burn brilliantly before surrendering to darkness. Tap that like button right now if you're ready to dive into the shocking details of this potential blockbuster that could reshape the Western Conference for years to come. The poignancy of Klay Thompson's post-Warriors journey reads like a Greek tragedy. The legendary marksman who conquered basketball's greatest heights reduced to a struggling role player on a play-in tournament casualty. When Thompson packed his bags after 12 illustrious years in the Bay Area, leaving behind 4 championship banners that bear his fingerprints, he wasn't simply changing employers. He was abandoning the ecosystem that transformed him from Washington State prospect to basketball immortality. The numbers tell a devastating story: 14.1 points per game, 3.4 rebounds, and 2 assists across 74 appearances. Statistical valleys Thompson hadn't experienced since his sophomore NBA campaign. More telling than the numbers was the uncharacteristic discomfort visible in his play. The once fluid movement became hesitant, the lightning-quick release deliberate. In Golden State, Thompson had mastered the art of basketball minimalism, maximum impact with minimal dribbling, exemplified by his legendary 60-point masterpiece on just 11 bounces of the ball. Dallas demanded he create off the dribble, handle in pick and rolls, and generate offense in isolation. Skills that had never been his calling card. Sources within the Mavericks organization describe a palpable frustration permeating the locker room as the season progressed, with Thompson himself growing increasingly withdrawn as his on-court struggles mounted. The Memphis Grizzlies, 120-106. Dismantling of Dallas in the play-in tournament wasn't just a season-ending defeat. It was the culmination of a failed basketball marriage that had shown warning signs from its earliest days. Behind closed doors, Dallas Mavericks executives have begun quietly gauging Thompson's trade market, not out of malice, but pragmatic necessity, as they recalibrate around Luka Doncic's prime years. The Mavericks front office, led by general manager Nico Harrison, faces the complicated task of extracting value from a depreciating asset while maintaining respectful diplomacy with a future Hall of Famer. Multiple league sources confirm that the Miami Heat have emerged as intriguing suitors, with President Pat Riley's long-standing appreciation for championship pedigree and Eric Spoelstra's defensive system potentially offering Thompson a more compatible basketball home. The Philadelphia 76ers represent another potential landing spot where Thompson's catch-and-shoot brilliance could complement Joel Embiid's interior dominance and create space for Tyrese Maxey's driving lanes. Perhaps most fascinating are the whispers of a potential Warriors reunion. A homecoming that seemed unthinkable months ago when Thompson departed amid reports of contract disagreements and role dissatisfaction. When confronted by reporters about potential regrets following Dallas's playoff elimination, Thompson's response, "That's a ridiculous question. I don't believe in looking back," carried the defensive tone of someone perhaps protesting too much. A source close to Thompson revealed that watching Warriors games has become increasingly difficult for him, stirring complicated emotions about the organization he helped elevate to basketball royalty. Thompson finds himself trapped in basketball purgatory, no longer the centerpiece he believes himself to be, yet unwilling to accept the reduced role that might actually maximize his remaining effectiveness. As Klay Thompson grapples with his basketball mortality in Dallas, the Warriors have refused to wallow in nostalgic paralysis. According to multiple league sources, Golden State has engaged in substantive discussions with the Portland Trail Blazers regarding a blockbuster trade centered around Anthony Simons. The proposed framework would send dynamic young forward Jonathan, Kuminga and sharpshooter Moses Moody to Portland in exchange for Simons, who has emerged as one of the league's most explosive combo guards. Simons, 25, is coming off another stellar season where he averaged 19.3 points and 4.8 assists, while shooting a respectable 36.3% from beyond the arc. What makes this potential trade particularly fascinating is its symbolic significance. The Warriors would effectively be abandoning their two-timeline approach that aimed to compete with veterans while developing young talent simultaneously. By sacrificing Kuminga, their explosive 22-year-old forward, who averaged 15.3 points as their third leading scorer last season, Golden State would be pushing their remaining chips toward maximizing Stephen Curry's final elite years rather than preserving assets for a post-Curry future. The philosophical shift represents a tacit acknowledgement that the organization's attempt to transition seamlessly from one championship core to another has faltered, necessitating a more urgent win-now approach while their generational point guard remains among the league's elite forces. The proposed Warriors-Blazers trade presents a fascinating study in organizational philosophies, Golden State's pivot toward immediacy colliding with Portland's embrace of patient rebuilding. For the Warriors, Anthony Simons represents the offensive dynamism they've lacked since Jordan Poole's departure. A guard capable of creating his own shot, attacking closeouts, and generating efficient offense both alongside Curry and leading second units. His offensive skill set would address Golden State's most glaring weakness: secondary creation when defenses sell out to contain Curry. The decision to include Kuminga speaks volumes about the deterioration of his relationship with head coach Steve Kerr, whose system demands basketball intelligence and off-ball movement that has remained elusive in Kuminga's development despite his athletic brilliance. Greg Schwartz of Bleacher Report captured the dysfunction perfectly. When your third leading scorer gets a DNP, coach's decision, in the most important games of the season, something is off. Despite averaging 15.3 points on improving efficiency, Kuminga found himself repeatedly benched during critical stretches last season, creating visible tension that manifested in both body language and cryptic social media activity. For Golden State, this trade would represent a calculated gamble that Simon's immediate impact, alongside Curry, Wiggins, and Green, could revitalize championship contention before their championship core dissolves completely. From Portland's perspective, acquiring Kuminga and Moody would accelerate their rebuilding timeline with precisely the type of high-upside young talent that complements their existing core. After trading franchise cornerstone Damian Lillard, the Trailblazers have assembled an intriguing young nucleus featuring former lottery picks Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe, and DeAndre Ayton. Kuminga would provide this group with explosive athleticism, transition finishing, and defensive versatility that perfectly complements Henderson's playmaking vision and Sharpe's perimeter shooting. Moses Moody, while less heralded, offers the kind of 3-and-D skill set that enhances any roster. With his 39.4% three-point accuracy representing elite shooting efficiency. The financial components make this deal particularly appealing for Portland. Simons will enter unrestricted free agency after next season, potentially commanding a maximum contract that would hamstring their rebuilding flexibility. Kuminga and Moody, meanwhile, remain on cost-controlled rookie deals that align perfectly with Portland's developmental timeline. Trailblazers general manager Joe Cronin has emphasized sustainable success rather than quick fixes, a philosophy that favors accumulating young talent that can develop cohesively. This potential trade would provide Portland with a blueprint reminiscent of their previous successful build around Lillard and McCollum, but with even greater athletic upside and defensive potential given the physical profiles of their young core. The broader implications of this potential trade extend beyond the two franchises directly involved, potentially reshaping Western Conference competitive dynamics for years to come. For Golden State, acquiring Simons would signal their refusal to gracefully exit the championship conversation despite Thompson's departure and Draymond Green's advancing age. With Curry still performing at an elite level, averaging 26.4 points last season on characteristically efficient shooting splits, the addition of Simons could provide the secondary creation necessary to navigate the increasingly athletic Western Conference landscape. The potential starting lineup of Curry, Simons, Wiggins, Green, and Looney would maintain Golden State's spacing principles while adding a dynamic ball handler capable of attacking closeouts and creating advantages off the dribble. Perhaps most intriguingly, this move would position the Warriors to potentially pursue another significant addition using their remaining draft capital and the contractual flexibility created by moving on from Thompson's mass. The broader implications of this potential trade extend beyond the two franchises directly involved, potentially reshaping Western Conference competitive dynamics for years to come. For Golden State, acquiring Simons would signal their refusal to gracefully exit the championship conversation despite Thompson's departure and Draymond Green's advancing age. With Curry still performing at an elite level, averaging 26.4 points last season on characteristically efficient shooting splits, the addition of Simons could provide the secondary creation necessary to navigate the increasingly athletic Western Conference landscape. The potential starting lineup of Curry, Simons, Wiggins, Green, and Looney would maintain Golden State's spacing principles while adding a dynamic ball handler capable of attacking closeouts and creating advantages off the dribble. Perhaps most intriguingly, this move would position the Warriors to potentially pursue another significant addition using their remaining draft capital and the contractual flexibility created by moving on from Thompson's massive salary slot. League sources indicate that Golden State owner Joe Lacob, while conscious of luxury tax implications, has authorized management to explore all avenues to maximize Curry's remaining prime years, a directive that could lead to additional bold moves if the Simons acquisition materializes. For Portland, embracing a youth movement centered around Henderson, Sharp, Ayton, and potentially Kuminga, would establish one of the league's most athletic young cores, while maintaining maximum financial flexibility for strategic additions as this group matures. The Klay Thompson saga and Golden State's potential pivot to Anthony Simons illustrates a fundamental truth about professional sports. Loyalty and sentimentality ultimately bow to competitive pragmatism. When Thompson departed Golden State, declining a 2-year extension worth approximately $48 million in favor of a 3-year, $50 million deal with Dallas, Warriors ownership felt a sense of betrayal after standing by their star through 2 catastrophic injuries that cost him 941 days of his prime. Thompson, meanwhile, sought validation that his value transcended the Splash Brothers partnership with Curry, that his greatness was portable rather than system-dependent. What has unfolded instead is a cautionary tale about basketball ecosystem and the delicate chemistry that elevates certain players in specific environments. In Golden State's motion offense, Thompson thrived as the ultimate catch-and-shoot threat, using screens and spatial awareness to find clean looks within the flow of organized chaos. In Dallas's more structured, Doncic-centric approach, those opportunities evaporated, forcing Thompson to create in ways that exposed limitations rather than highlighting strengths. As the Warriors potentially pivot to Simons, a stylistically different guard whose creativity aligns with contemporary offensive demands, they acknowledge that sentimentality cannot override adaptation. For Thompson, watching his former team potentially thrive with his theoretical replacement would represent the final emotional complication in a challenging professional chapter. For Simons, the opportunity to learn alongside Curry and elevate his game within Golden State's system could transform him from statistical compiler on a rebuilding team to impact contributor on a contender. As these trade discussions intensify, in the coming weeks, the basketball world finds itself witnessing the intersection of personal legacy and organizational direction. The difficult choices that define NBA careers and franchise trajectories. For Klay Thompson, the question becomes increasingly existential. Was leaving Golden State worth the cost to his basketball identity? For Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, would departing the championship expectations of Golden State for Portland's developmental runway unlock their considerable potential? For Anthony Simons, could joining forces with Stephen Curry provide the championship platform his talents deserve? And for the Warriors and Blazers organizations, which approach will history validate? Golden State's urgent pursuit of present contention or Portland's patient building towards sustainable success. This potential transaction represents far more than names changing on rosters. It embodies the fundamental tension between immediate gratification and delayed satisfaction that characterizes professional sports' most difficult decisions. As front offices negotiate and players await their fates, the paradox becomes clear. Basketball decisions are simultaneously ruthlessly pragmatic and profoundly human, affecting careers, legacies, and lives beyond the hardwood. What's your take on this potential blockbuster? Would you sacrifice Kuminga and Moody's long-term potential for Simon's immediate impact if you were running the Warriors? Or would you trust the development process if you were in Portland's position? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below and hit that like button if you appreciated this insider breakdown of what could become the summer's defining trade. Don't forget to subscribe. Next week we'll be exploring another NBA bombshell, involving an Eastern Conference All-Star who might be headed west in a shocking twist that nobody sees coming.